see there the track temperature going up. That was 38 degrees this morning, now 52. It is very hot indeed, especially the last couple of days. Some of the drivers saying it's the hottest conditions they have ever driven in. 14 turns await them for race 1. 8 right, 6 left, and the brilliant news is we've got fans in the stands. A certain amount of the crowd have been allowed to come in and watch the cars racing around this weekend. It is absolutely brilliant to see them out and watching the brilliant Euroformula Open action. You can see there a bit of a movement in the pit lane as we see our pole sitter Jack Crawford in the Red Bull livery car, racing for Team Motor Park, who leads them out, taking his second pole position of the year. He, of course, missed last round in Belgium, but the young American coming back strongly as well. We'll go through the grid a little in a little bit once the cars start to form up in the commentary box. My name is Harry Benjamin. Elliot Wood will be joining me shortly as ever to guide you through this first race 1 of Euroformula Open. We set the grid this morning in a 25-minute qualifying session. We will have this race 35 minutes maximum length, and then the top 6 finishers will be reversed, and that will be the starting grid for race 2. And then we will get race 3 underway. After that, both of those, race 2 and race 3, take place on Sunday tomorrow. And then the fastest laps from race 2 set the grid for race 3. It's a new qualifying format that Euroformula Open have adopted and implemented over the past few races, and it is serving up some excellent races indeed. And we do have a packed and hungry grid of young racing drivers who are trying to make their way up the motorsport ladder to the pinnacle and the very top, as high as they can get. And Jack Crawford certainly making the case that he deserves to be climbing this ladder. First and foremost, the Red Bull back driver, the young American, just 16 years old. He was under 16 for the first round at the Algarve in Portugal, so he couldn't race in the first 2 races. He turned 16 on the Sunday, which meant legally he was then allowed to take part, and it rather set him on the back foot, but he still managed to finish a very credible 7th. Come to round 2 in France, come to Hungary, come to France, and he absolutely dominates. On board now, though, with home hero Vivian Kasei, the Hungarian racing driver, the 20-year-old, the only female on this grid from Debrecen. First ever Hungarian racing driver as well, as part of the Audi Racing Academy being supported here. It's her first time at the Hungaroring, racing in a single-seater car, going from 11th on the grid, hoping to fight her way up as well. So brilliant to see some home support for Vivian Kasei too. And she's being supported here by her boyfriend, David Schumacher. The Formula 3 racer got his first win last season, last week, I should say. Here now supporting Vivian Kasei. Now, we should also let you know a couple of the driver changes that have occurred since last time you may have joined us, as Vivian Kasei finds her grid spot and begins to get in the zone, ready for her start. VAR are fielding a 3rd car. The Van Amersfoort racing team from the Netherlands are fielding a 3rd car in the form of the 23-year-old Turk, Cem Boluk-Bassi, who is going well so far. We'll come to him a little bit more in a minute. A little bit further down in Team Motor Park, Jack Crawford rejoins the Euroformula Open, having missed a round. And down in DriveX, we have Joshua Dirksen, the Paraguayan driver, 17-year-old, joining alongside Enzo Schionti for this weekend, also proving his pace so far. The current 2019 vice champion of the UAE F4 Championship, also doing Italian Formula 4 this year. So some driver changes to make note of as well. And on his return, Jack Crawford has decided that he wants to put it on pole. And Elliot Wood alongside me. Pole position last year was Yiffy Yi. And if you're on pole, you have the best chance of winning. And history dictates here at the Hungaroring, where it is difficult to pass. But unfortunately for those behind him, including Cameron Dass and this man here, Louis Foster, it's going to be difficult to overcome that pole position. Yeah,
it's sometimes called Monaco with walls because of just how many corners we have here and how few straights. It's a circuit that kind of prioritizes mechanical grip over aerodynamic grip as well. So that also means, you know, the power of the slipstream isn't as much as where we've raced at Spa or at Paul Ricard. It's a circuit that poses a very different challenge, and in this heat as well, it's all about tyre temperature management. The surface temp of the tyres gets very, very high with so many corners and a lot of load being put on the rubber. So, you know, drivers are going to be very, very careful how to do it. And if you're trying to overtake and you're trying to push the tyres to the maximum, it's going to make it much harder to make it to the end.
It really is, and tyres is really the talk of the town at the moment, including from our pole sitter, who very last minute during qualifying stuck 3 sets of new tyres throughout qualifying to secure pole, just saying he was struggling with grip in the low-speed corners as well. So luckily he was able to get his pole lap straight out the bat, but using 3 sets of new tyres in qualifying might come back to bite him.
Yeah, so he essentially had a car that was focusing more on the high-speed corners, and that's where more of the aerodynamics come into play. Motorpark had set it up that way. And I spoke to him, and he kind of said that he had to adapt his driving style more for the slower corners to get a much cleaner line out of them and get the traction down. So that's purely just kind of driver preferences that come in there. However, using those tyres is definitely going to come into play. As you look at Nazem Azman, not the greatest qualifying result, you know, of his season so far, is it?
His worst, actually, of the season so far, just struggling a little bit for outright pace so far after a very consistent run in Belgium. 3 podiums from 3 races. Philippe Caminiaz, his teammate, also had a really strong showing, a much improved showing in Belgium, arguably, challenging for the lead of the race early on, but just couldn't maintain that. Joshua Mason was very disappointed with his qualifying. He goes from 10th spot on the grid, said he had the pace, but just couldn't make it happen in qualifying. I think a bit of a traffic management issue just from the looks of qualifying as well, trying to find a clear gap. Unfortunately for him, he goes from 10th place, but he said his full focus is working his way up the grid. Home hero, as I say, Vivian Cassay just behind him, goes from 11th, scored points in all 3 races in Belgium, looking to improve on that. She had a bit of an issue with her engine earlier on in practice. Hoping she's overcome that though. Let's look at the highlights from Spa though. Louis Foster was the talk of the town then, starting from pole. Josh Mason in second, having to cut across and defend that position. A few lockups going in, but they all managed to make their way cleanly through. Newcomer Carlin and Christian Mansell ran out wide, and then there was this big scary crash for Josh Mason coming together with Cameron Das and Louis Foster. Unfortunately, that put Mason straight out, and there we saw that a few times throughout the weekend. A few collisions involving Zdeněk Chovanec, but no one could stop the young Brit in the form of Louis Foster, who took the win ahead of Nazem Azman and Cameron Das in the first race. And then it got going again. This time, Enzo Trulli on pole position, defending that inside line. Azman trying to find his way down the middle. Ended up being held back into 3rd. Unfortunately, Enzo Trulli couldn't hang on to that lead and fell back through the pack. And once again, Louis Foster carving his way through the field to take 2 from 2 this time around. Could he do it in a 3rd time in a row? No, he couldn't, unfortunately, at the start, because he stalled and did manage to get away. That, very handily, gave it to his championship rival, Cameron Das, who had a free pass going into turn 1, but that was not the end of the story. Casper Stevenson had a really good run for VAR as well. Strong, consistent results from him. Not so much for Zdeněk Chovanec, who found the wall, unfortunately, which brought out a safety car, which meant the gap that Das had built up to the lead was overcome by Louis Foster, carving his way through the field, having stalled from the grid, ended up taking the race win. It was 3 wins from 3 races for Louis Foster, which now sees him sit in 2nd place in the driver's standings with 157 points, just behind Cameron Das, who has 176 points. Well, we've got a yellow flag at the front of the field, so we'll see if all the cars have been able to get away. Yes, just to come out window. Let's take a look, though, at the grid. It's Jack Crawford on pole from Cameron Das, ahead of Louis Foster and Rafael Villa-Gomez, who makes a return to the championship as well for Van Amersfoort Racing. He goes from 4th ahead of newcomer, the young Turkish racer Cem Bolukbasi, showing strong pace. Currently in 5th ahead of Casper Stevenson. Joshua Dirksen on debut for DriveX and in Euroformula Open goes from 7th. Nazem Azman just behind him. Then it's Philippe Caminiaz in 9th ahead of Josh Mason, who will be hoping to make his way through the field. Hungarian racing driver on home turf, Vivian Cassay, goes from 11th, just ahead of Zdeněk Chovanec for Double R Racing in 12th. And rounding out the field, unfortunately, with a little spin in qualifying as well, which didn't help him, Enzo Schionti, last 13th on this grid as we get going on this formation lap and trying to get temperature.
natuurlijk. Okay, get the phone ready for Erdogan. Good job, guys.
Papa. Good job, mate. Proud of you, mate. Good work. Good work. You're doing sweaty there, mate. Oh, man. Yeah. Well done, buddy. That was fucking awesome. Good job, Tim. Very good job, man. Excellent. Excellent. Great. Looking good, eh?
Oh yeah, that was fun. Don't take the weight. The weight.
Cem Bolugbashi, perfect debut in the Euroformula. You couldn't dream better.
Oh, I can't believe we've done it. First race, first win from P5. Had not the best start. Couldn't arrange the revs as much as I want to, but we had a good lap 1, capitalized on everyone in turn 1 and 2, and then the leader made a mistake. We just finished the race with no errors, and that was the win. It's incredible when you think about it.
Reality and virtual reality join, no?
It does look very similar. You know, the games it's 2021 now. It's incredible how realistic they are. But I never thought I would go from F1 esports to win a race in Euroformula Open. It's unbelievable.
Well done in any case, and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Adott török.
The winning team is from Hungaroring Racing, and their representative is Daniel. And also the best rookie today, Joshua Ivan. And now let's hear the national anthem of Turkey. Congratulations to Professional. That was a great race. And now let's go with the trophies for the best.
Get the trophies.
And now we can celebrate with champagne! Joshua Ivan Dixon, a második helyezett Mexikóban Rafael Villalobos, és a győztes az újonc török Cservölök Basi, a Fun Motorsport Racing versenyzője.